Franz Ferdinand, the assassination that only succeeded because the driver took a wrong turn like separate assassins were waiting along the route that day. 5 of them failed completely, one lost his nerve, another's bomb bounced off the car. The motorcade should have continued safely past the final assassin entirely. Then the driver, given confusing last-minute instructions, turned down the wrong street directly in front of him and stopped the car close enough that missing was no longer possible. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary, travelled to Sarajevo in the Austro-Hungarian province of Bosnia, alongside his wife Sophie, for a formal state visit that Serbian nationalist militants, viewing the visit as a genuinely significant provocation given the specific date's connection to Serbian national historical memory, had specifically targeted for assassination, organising a coordinated group of 6 separate armed conspirators positioned at intervals along the motorcade's planned route through the city. The assassination attempt's actual execution proved genuinely, remarkably chaotic and unsuccessful across its initial phases, since several of the positioned conspirators, when the actual moment arrived, either lost their nerve entirely and failed to act as the motorcade passed their position, or found themselves unable to get a clear, safe attempt at the moving vehicle given the surrounding crowds, meaning the plot's first several planned opportunities passed without any actual attempt being made at all. One conspirator, Nedeljko Čabrinović, did make a direct attempt, throwing a hand grenade at the Archduke's vehicle as it passed, though the device bounced off the car's folded convertible roof before detonating, causing injuries to individuals in a following vehicle and among nearby bystanders, but leaving Franz Ferdinand and Sophie themselves entirely unharmed. And Čabrinović, believing his attempt had potentially succeeded, attempted to take his own life by swallowing a cyanide capsule and jumping into a nearby river, though the cyanide proved insufficiently potent to actually kill him, and the river itself was genuinely too shallow for the intended drowning, resulting in his capture by authorities shortly afterward rather than his intended death. Following this failed attempt, Franz Ferdinand's motorcade continued onward, and the Archduke, having survived the initial attack, proceeded to a scheduled formal reception before making the specific, subsequent decision to personally visit the hospital, where individuals injured during the earlier grenade attack were being treated. A genuinely considerate personal gesture that nonetheless required altering the motorcade's originally planned return route. A change in plans that proved, in retrospect, genuinely catastrophic given what happened next. The motorcade's drivers, having received these last-minute instructions regarding the altered route back through the city, became genuinely confused regarding the specific revised path they were actually supposed to follow, and the lead vehicle, including Franz Ferdinand's own car, mistakenly turned onto a side street that had been part of the original, no longer current route rather than the newly revised path, an error immediately recognized by an accompanying official, who ordered the drivers to stop and reverse course back toward the correct route. This specific navigational error proved genuinely, catastrophically consequential, since the vehicle's forced stop to reverse direction happened to occur directly in front of Gavrilo Princip, one of the original 6 conspirators who had, following the earlier failed attempt, given up on the plot succeeding and had wandered to a nearby delicatessen, only to find Franz Ferdinand's car unexpectedly stopped directly before him at genuinely close range, an entirely unplanned, coincidental opportunity that Princip immediately recognized and acted upon, stepping forward and firing 2 shots at close range, fatally wounding both Franz Ferdinand and Sophie before he could be subdued by nearby bystanders and authorities. What made this specific assassination genuinely, historically catastrophic extended well beyond the immediate deaths themselves, since Austria-Hungary's subsequent formal response, holding the Serbian government directly responsible for the assassination given the conspirators' documented connections to Serbian nationalist organizations, triggered a rapid, escalating diplomatic crisis among Europe's major powers, whose complex interlocking system of military alliances meant Austria-Hungary's declaration of war against Serbia rapidly drew Russia, Germany, France, and eventually Britain into direct military conflict within a matter of weeks, transforming a regional political assassination into the opening event of the First World War. Historians studying the assassination's specific sequence of events generally regard the navigational error leading directly to Princip's unplanned opportunity as one of history's most genuinely consequential individual mistakes, since the broader assassination plot, absent this specific unplanned coincidental stop, appeared to have already substantially failed following the earlier unsuccessful grenade attack, meaning the war's eventual outbreak, and by extension, the deaths of an estimated 15 to 20 million people across the war's subsequent 4 years, can be traced back through an unbroken chain of causation to a single driver's confused, mistaken turn down the wrong street. What makes Franz Ferdinand's assassination endure as one of history's most significant single events isn't simply its role in directly triggering the First World War, genuinely significant as that broader causal connection remains, but the specific, almost unbearable historical irony that the assassination's actual success depended entirely on a single navigational mistake occurring at exactly the right moment and location to place the archduke's vehicle directly in front of the one remaining conspirator who happened to still be in the immediate area. A chain of events so genuinely dependent on pure chance that historians studying the event continue treating it as one of history's most extreme demonstrations of how enormous historical consequences can trace back to genuinely small, seemingly insignificant individual errors. If stories like this, where a single wrong turn set in motion a chain of events that eventually cost millions of lives, are exactly what you come here for, subscribe to The Grave Details, because history holds more stories like this than most people will ever know.